Hello and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Gracia, and I know it's not Tuesday; it's Monday, but um, tomorrow night's election night. I don't think people are going to want to be watching me. They're going to be watching a lot of other different things that night. So I have a special Monday edition here where I'm bringing on a past guest, KJ Murphey, who has a new book coming out called Road to Valhalla. I've watched the Kickstarter video on it. I've seen some artwork of it. It looks really interesting. So I'm going to bring him on, and we're gonna talk about it. And if you're interested, in the comments already is the link to check out the Kickstarter and donate. So let's not wait anymore. Let's bring KJ on. Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Let's put up your social media here so that everyone can find you on Facebook, which is both A Road to Valhalla, and you also have Guildworks Publication, and the website is gwp.com, which is Guildwork.
GWP Comics. Yeah.
Oh, GWP Comics. I'm sorry.
That's right.
It's on there on the screen. I didn't read it right. Um, so for those who didn't tune in back when you were first on in, I think it was July.
Yeah.
Um, you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, your comic background, things like that?
I've been around for about almost 20 years. Was started as a fan creator. Apologize for the beeping. That's my wood stove on the fritz. you might Throughout this you might hear some beeping. That's what that is.
Okay.
So basically, went to art school. Wanted to do comics. Learned about a lot of other things. Finished art school. Wanted to do comics. There's a theme, and basically went a different career path, but kept doing comics on the side. Got involved with a group I helped found, Comic Book Artists Guild, and then that was my really first experience with making comics. And
Okay.
then stayed there for about 10 years, and then started my own thing called Guildworks Public. It was Productions, but we changed it to Publications, GWP Comics, and
Mhm.
started working with Hector Rodriguez and John Escobalis on a few different projects. Hell's Blood was one of them. And then I worked on my own book finally. I got around to doing my own book, Torn, which was a Wendigo's curse story. That was a single issue, about 60 some odd pages. I had a lot of fun doing it. And then when I was done with it, I wanted to do something else with it. I really liked the whole monster thing. And I approached John about maybe doing something like a prequel book, because the original book took place like in the 17th century. This book would take place during the Viking Age, which is way earlier. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now, promoting Road to Valhalla.
Okay, cool. Now let me just add, the Wendigo
Yeah.
character, which
Mhm.
I'd have to look up the mythology again, but I used to know it. I used to know a lot about that type of
Yeah.
stuff. Are you staying true to the mythology of what a Wendigo is?
So in the first book, the Torn book, I very much tried to follow with this kind of Native American lore of this person who basically becomes a monster when he eats the flesh of a human, and so I wrote that in. This guy basically is a real dirtbag. He mistreats these Indian people, and then he ends up eating one of them. It's cannibalism basically, and
Mhm.
so it deviates a lot from the werewolf curse, and there's no silver involved and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's sort of this curse that just doesn't really end. Um, so what we did this time around was it wasn't just one guy that turns into a Wendigo. It's several people, several Vikings that end up turning into the Wendigo creatures, and each one looks a little bit different.
Mhm.
Doesn't So we had an opportunity visually to kind of do some really cool stuff with it. Usually it's a very gaunt looking creature with kind of like horns and teeth and all claws. And
Yeah.
so I tried to incorporate that with the first book. But this book, we've only shown a few shots of it, but I think it's looking like a lot different from the other Wendigo I drew. So
Okay. No, that's interesting because I used to be I still am a huge mythology fan, but I haven't read it as much as I used to. And it's funny because I'm not a horror fan, but I love to read the mythology
Yeah,
of different types of monsters. And the Wendigo was always an interesting one because it had similarities to a werewolf, but wasn't the werewolf type.
yeah,
And and it's very it's not a monster that people would be like, they know the vampires, they know the werewolves. It's not a common monster, so it's nice to go through that and
yeah.
kind of.
I think that's why I was drawn to it, honestly, because it wasn't like your typical, vampire, werewolf, zombie, Frankenstein. It has
Yeah,
elements of all those creatures, but it's not one that everyone's doing. I think it's become very popular. I know there's some other people doing really cool things with it, but
mhm,
yeah. So I just, for whatever reason, we went that way. It's
yeah.
yeah,
And you said it started in your first book, Torn. Now you said Torn took place in the 1700s, and it was about a guy who treated Native Americans poorly, and he eventually ate the flesh of one and became a
yeah. It's
Wendigo.
basically he was a mercenary, and he kind of was just a hired gun, and was basically taking advantage of these people and lying to them,
Yeah,
and then it snows really bad, and they all get stuck in his cabin, and then one of them's really sick, and they have nothing
yeah,
to eat. It was a really hard winter, and he has a gun and they don't. So
yeah.
um,
And is Torn still available? Like people can find
it
it?
is, yeah. Actually, I'm thinking about giving it out for free as a
Mhm.
digital download um, to help support this current Kickstarter. So I think I'm probably gonna make an announcement about that in a week or so,
Okay.
where basically if I reach a certain funding level, I'll basically give everyone an email copy of it, a PDF copy of it.
Yeah.
Um, but print copies, I still have some, and I could always make more. So I think it is for sale on the website actually. And
Okay. So okay, you love this creature, the Wendigo. You wanted to do something with it, and um, I watched your video
mm,
on the Kickstarter. So it's you and John and you both wrote this, correct?
it's funny. That video, John's got a lot of stuff going on personally, and so it wasn't the best day to shoot the video, and he looks kind of like really like he doesn't want to be there, and I'm trying to be upbeat, and
Mhm.
um but yeah, essentially, he wrote it. I gave him plot points. I told him what I wanted in the story, and
Yeah.
basically I wrote a bare bones script, and he
Mhm.
used what I wrote and what his ideas were, and it basically is a really good collaboration.
Mhm.
Um, and so we went back and forth with the script until it was pretty much, just had to figure out the dialogue, but it was all there,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
what he wanted and what I wanted, and it was just okay, time to draw it.
Yeah. Now was I don't know if was this a joke in the video? Was there something that's supposed to be about aliens in the story originally,
Yeah,
or?
so that I think that was what I was telling you before was
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 years ago, I approached John about doing this story with Vikings, and he got excited about it. But he was like really into ancient aliens and all this other stuff, and he was like talking about bringing in like the abominable snowman or Yetis or something, and like just seemed like way too much stuff.
Yeah.
And all I wanted to do was do a thing about this specifically this clan of Vikings that come to the settlement and find it abandoned, and then they find out that these people were taken by Wendigos, and so he wanted he wanted to bring in like UFOs and stuff, and that the Vikings think it's some type of god or something, or the Native
Mhm.
Americans think it's some kind of god, or and so I was like doing all this layouts of these pages, and I just wasn't liking it. And I think when you stop drawing something and there's no motivation or passion behind it anymore, And I
Yeah.
think he knew. He's a pretty smart guy. He's like, yeah, and we stopped talking about it for a while, and it would come up occasionally, and I always go, yeah, man. I don't know, man. It's like, I'm working on this other thing now, so we'll get back to it. So
Yeah.
5 years went by, and then I forget how it ended up. I think he brought it up again, or I did, and I just said, look, if we could just be, Vikings and Wendigos, I'd be good with that, and just you know eject the rest. And he was like, yeah, we can do that. So that's kind of what happened.
Now, just out of curiosity, why Vikings? Is that a time period you like, a culture you like to study, or is that just you thought it would be good?
I think it's as simple as Vikings have been perceived as these bloodthirsty, murderous people that just conquer everything. And I think there's a whole nother side to these people. They had their own culture, and I think I watched a few documentaries on Vikings, and that kind of inspired me.
Mhm.
And John's really passionate about it. He's got books and books about Vikings, and
Yeah.
and I think that was what really. And I started drawing some Vikings, and I really liked doing the drawings, and I think that became a really easy kind of just you got to draw what you're gravitated to, I guess. And,
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, how about before I'm gonna show the Kickstarter page in a few moments.
Oh yeah, sure.
But before we do, how about giving us a little pitch to A Road to Valhalla? What is kind of
Yeah,
the
I've been
book
done this
about?
for a while, so it might be a little rusty.
Okay.
So you want the elevator pitch, like the quick pitch, or you want like a long thing? Or...
Give me the elevator pitch. We can get into length after if we need
sure.
to.
It's basically a tale of two brothers. Essentially, a younger brother is tasked by his father, who's a chief, to find his older brother Eric, who is in charge of the settlement in what it would be considered the Narragansett area of New England. Okay. Everybody that goes there doesn't come back, so they have not heard from Eric for a while. So the father's concerned because this is his heir, and so he sends his younger son to find out what happened to Eric and his people. And so that's how the story pretty much starts. It starts with kind of a synopsis that things aren't well with Eric and his people, and something's happened. And then it goes right to Bran, who's his younger brother, with his party, like not even a year later. Reaching the settlement and seeing that it's deserted. So that's basically how it starts. They don't know what happened. But,
okay. Yeah. So I'm going to share the screen for a moment, and we're going to take a look at the Kickstarter page you have.
Great.
Let me do this here. Share Road to Valhalla. Wow. Okay, so we're looking at the main page here of your Kickstarter, which you just launched today, by the way. And you only have a goal of $3,200, which is not that much, enough to put a book together, but not a lot. And you're already at 861 with 17 backers, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been cool. Like this morning, I got a guy from Denmark who reached out to me and was he's like of Viking descent, so that was kind of neat. And yeah, a lot of people have been really very gracious, and already we already sold the cover, which is awesome. The original cover, Hector's art.
And that's Hector
Rodriguez. Yeah, so I texted him right away. I was kind of excited. It's like, hey, we sold your cover. He's like, oh man, we should have sold it for more. And I'm like, I
know. And the picture we're currently looking at on the cover of your video here, this is your artwork, correct?
No, that's actually the cover. That's
that's part of the cover. That's Hector's.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Hector's always been a fantastic. I'm a fan of his work, so
yeah,
I got to get him on here one day.
Yeah, he would be totally down. It just depends on which night.
Yeah, I've chatted with him, and we need to just straighten, scheduling out.
Okay.
So this is a story. I don't want to go through it all because you're kind of telling us about it. But
that's Eric. That's Eric with the sword. Yeah, the older brother.
So it's a Viking horror comic. Now, when you say horror, how horror is it? Is this like teenagers can read this, or should it be older?
Oh, that's a really excellent question. It's not like well, no one someone gets their throat slit in the book, so So maybe it's for adults. Let's be fair. Let's be fair.
So
I don't know
older
what's
teens.
considered PG anymore.
Yeah, 17, 18 and up, like young
Yeah,
adult.
18 and up probably.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I'm pretty much finishing that story. So one day I'd be drawing a guy getting killed, and then in the next moment I would be drawing a kid's book. You know,
Yeah.
something like polar opposite, like something lighthearted. And in the emotional energy when you go into drawing people fighting each other, warfare, and just drawing like two kids hanging out at their house and playing together is like the emotional energy is so much different there, you know.
Yeah, no, I do. It's funny because I'll do a lot. Like the children's book I just finished. It's a cute animal monkey who likes to draw. That's so I'm drawing all these cute monkeys. But then when I'm doing like my warm ups or I'm doing just relaxation stuff at the end of the day, I'm drawing like superhero battles and other characters fighting and just it's nothing compared to what I draw. And I was drawing for the kids stuff, and it's not humorous. It's has nothing to do with it. So it's just how your mind goes. I find that pretty interesting. How you have to. It's a whole other thought process.
Yeah.
Like I have to make sure I'm not drawing too detailed on the monkey, like I'd be doing for the superheroes or whatnot. Yeah. So it's interesting, and I love this. And now this is your work, though, right?
That's my work.
And is this watercolor?
So it is a under painting, like a wash technique, where I use some watercolor pencil, and I go back in with just water and a little bit of marker, a little bit of colored pencil, but essentially it's kind of a washy thing, yeah. And then it's painted over.
Yeah, because I
really amazing colorist from Spain named Leo DiMaggio, who's a really great guy, very talented.
Yeah. Because now that you say that there's some marker, I think I can see it in here a little bit, probably on the face a bit.
I cheated a little bit, yeah. I didn't have that kind of time to really just do straight watercolor. That would be cool, but
yeah, no, I love watercolor. A colored pencil is my favorite medium.
Yeah.
To work in, and I don't do it professionally. I color digital.
Yeah.
But I would love to do something that's just colored pencil or watercolor, because I love watercolors as well, and I have a nice set of watercolor pencils. And it's just nice.
Something great about the analog nature of making art the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
And it's very comforting and relaxing. And as soon as it's all digital, it's a little bit. I'm disconnected from it in some way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. So let's take a look. So you're the artist and co-writer, and this is John here. And how do you say his last name? I'm sorry.
Escobalas. He's actually he is half Puerto Rican. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm bad with saying names all the time, so I apologize if I mess up names here. But he's a writer as well, and then this is your colorist, you said.
Leo from Spain, yeah.
Yeah. He's done work for Zenescope and DC Comics and Boom, and nice.
Right after he finished our book, the next day he churned out a Baby Yoda, beautifully rendered, and I was like, oh, it's like, I want to do another Baby Yoda. He did it so well,
And
Mindy Locken, she does our graphic design lettering.
I've seen her work before. She's good.
Yep,
I like it.
Yeah, she's working on Billy Tucci's She stuff right now.
Yeah. Very nice.
There's Hector.
And there's Hector covering his face so he can't see what he looks like.
Yeah.
And now this is your Guildworks Publications logo. So here's some more samples. These are some sample pages. Now, are these pages specifically without text right now, or is this how it is in the book?
No, that's without text on purpose.
Okay.
I wasn't sure because I've not done Kickstarter before. I saw some people with the story, like with the text, and some people with just the art and the pages. And I didn't want to cover up a bunch of things. I wanted people just to see the art. And it's actually all It was just lettered today. So
Okay, so when this is published, there will be text over
oh
it.
yeah, every page will have
Okay.
dialogue, absolutely. Captions.
I really like the way the fire's been colored,
Oh yeah,
especially up here, how it's turning into.
it's Odin. It's
I
the
figured I saw the shadowed eye and stuff. I
yeah,
figured
he's
it was.
having this discussion with Odin basically.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the picture from before.
Hmm.
This is really nice work here.
Thank you.
I was looking at it earlier and I was just staring at it because I love the lighting effect you did. How the the fire.
Charging through the fire, yeah.
Yeah.
That was all John. You know, it's funny because that page that you're looking at right now, that
Uh-huh.
wasn't in the original story, right?
Yeah.
I get on to page 8 or 9, and John goes, "Hey, man, we need a page between this scene and this scene." And I'm like, "Okay," but I'm already drawing this. I said, "Okay, I'll get to it. I'll get to it, right?" And then like I'm at page 20 something. I'm like, I better do that page 3 now. And so I draw it, and it ends up being one of my favorite pages. It's
Yeah.
like how it goes, I guess.
It's beautiful here.
Thanks. And that's Braun,
Which one? The
the
green
guy
hair
on the second panel with the dark hair.
with the dark area?
Yeah.
Like this.
So he's having
Yeah.
problems with some of the people in his party already. Essentially, they seem to be there with their own agendas, and that's established pretty early.
Yeah. I'm just like, I mean, even the way you rendered the homes here, these
Yeah.
little like houses, huts, whatever you want to call them, the wind blowing the sheet or whatever you want to call it, the fabric of the door there, kind of blowing in the wind. It's and little simple details like the sword in the ground here, and it's all like dirt and everything. They got a simple little flower popping up, just nice little pieces there here.
Well, we want to establish that it's been a little while. It's been unkept. That something happened there, and
yeah. So
those are the rewards.
The rewards, yeah. So for $5, you get the digital PDF, which is nice.
It's just 25 pages.
Mm. Now this actually is interesting to me. I do plan on to donate. I'm not a horror guy, as I mentioned, but I love the idea of Vikings. I love the idea of monsters, and I am interested in the story. Okay. But this one here, just the $10, I don't know, I have to look at the others again, but this $10 one, it comes with concept art and prose pages. So it shows some of the story that you've written and some of the designs that you've done.
Yeah, we figured for the people that wanted more of the behind the scenes, like concept art, I actually had Burn Grown do a few different Wendigo concepts for me. And, I have all this extra stuff, and I have a bunch of concept art that I did. And then John was writing a lot of different things. And we figured we could easily add another 15 pages that we don't have to print. So why not give it out as a digital per?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And is the deluxe PDF that extra?
The deluxe PDF has the extra 15.
Has the extra 15.
Yeah.
So then you get a print version with this one and the deluxe.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, these are great rewards that I'm looking at right here.
Thank you.
I mean, the prints now, is all these prints your artwork, or Hector do any of these?
No, those are all me.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I had more time to get Hector to do something else. He's so busy with other things. And, but he's committed to doing another cover for issue 2, so that's good.
That's great.
Yeah,
it's great. And now you got a holographic sticker bundle. So, that's cool. You can even kind of see the shine on that. That's nice. I'm just looking. So you get the deluxe PDF on that, the signed prints, and a signed copy of the book. Nice. This is the sign number. When you say sketch plate, what do you mean for those who don't know what a sketch plate is?
So basically, it's kind of on a heavier stock. It's basically a drawing that's reproduced, but I'll sign and number it, and I'll do a little extra sketch work on it, a little extra tone on it, so it's each one will have its own little thing on it.
Okay. All right, that's a nice one. Now this one comes with a blank sketch card, but it's interesting. Everything that you're giving, and not, I mean, I know a lot of people do this, but it's just great that you're continually adding. You're keeping what you've given out previously, just adding something extra here.
Yeah, you want to actually, I guess from a marketing standpoint, if you're creating this funnel, you want to kind of create sort of this upsell feel where people have, for $5, $10, or $15 more, an option to throw other things in there if they want it.
Yeah.
Which I'm learning about still. But, that's the other side of the thing, like learning Kickstarter, learning about marketing 101, you got to put time in just to do that stuff, really.
Yeah, I know. And when you're like a single person business, or you're just a couple of people, it's very time consuming. I mean, I'm mostly a single person business, and there are days where I'm not even doing artwork because I have to plan my plan. You're sitting there, okay, well, when I get this book done, how do I plan to release it? Am I kickstarting it? Am I doing, like, just as an example, right now, I have a book I want, it's going to be like a web comic, but eventually I'm going to collect it in a book with extras.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a couple of publishers in mind I'd like to shop it to. But if they don't pick it up, I'm going to kickstart it.
Yeah.
For the printing. So it's like I have all this plan. I'm already, and I haven't even drawn the book yet. The script isn't even done. I have someone else writing the script. Very much like you, I said, these are my plot points. These have to be in the story. Yeah. Go do what you do best now, and write me a story. Yeah. But yeah, so throughout the whole thing, I'm like, okay, who's my target audience? How am I marketing it? Am I building new Facebook pages, Instagram pages? What am I doing? And how's this gonna work? So it becomes hours, and then you're researching on the web and you're reading, and it's nuts. It's nuts, but it's good to know all this stuff though too these days. And you got a Hector Rodriguez commission for $100. Yep.
So if anyone wants his art, he'll do an 8x11 or a 9x12, I think. Marker comp,
Yeah, he said marker on 8.5x11 paper. That's nice. And then the John, how do you say his last name? I'm sorry.
Escobalas.
Escobalas,
yeah.
So editorial support on your story. That's just worth it to get an editor to kind of look at your work and give you tips. That's on a page from the book one. That's nice. And so it'd be the original.
Yeah, there's a link below there that you don't have to click on it, but it goes to a Pinterest account where all the pages are on that Pinterest account, so you can see the pages and decide if you want to buy one of the pages or not.
Well, I'm not going to click on it on the air, only because I want people to get excited and either look at it on their own, and personally buy the book so that they can see all the pages completed. I'll click on it privately, so I can see everything. And then this is cover art,
which I really should put sold or remove it, actually, I guess, because there was only one cover and somebody already snagged that.
Yeah, well, I would, definitely. I would keep it up, and I would just put a sold on here, or
that makes sense. I'll do that.
Just let people see that something went. And here for $300, we make you a character in the next book.
Sold one of those. Sold one of those today. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Guy approached me, said, he wants to be in the next book. I said, cool. So I said, send me some headshots. So he sent me the headshots. He wants to be in the book. I'm like, all right, man, you're in.
That's fine. And you show the breakdown here. That's fantastic. And this is a patch that was made?
It's a mock-up for a patch. So actually, I guess I shouldn't say anything, but I will. So originally I was just so that's our sigil. That's kind of our logo. I just thought it would be a cool idea to kind of come up with like a Viking Wendigo looking thing. So the RTV is Road to Valhalla. So I've been referring it to as RTV because I like acronyms. I guess it's just easier.
Yeah.
But so I was going to make just a regular patch for a stretch goal, But now I'm thinking about maybe making a special patch that is like glow in the dark thread.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it would be like a glow in the dark patch. Yeah, so
yeah.
I'll let you know. I'll let you.
I'll be keeping an eye out on it. Especially, I'll be donating, maybe next paycheck. But
no worries. I got 29 more days. So.
I'll be honest, for what I like, I mean, I'm looking at one of these two right here, the $15.
Yeah.
The question comes down to, I want the prints only because I don't know if I have enough room to storage.
They're mini prints. They're not regular size.
Okay, good to know.
They should fit in a smaller frame.
Yeah. Well, you see my studio set up here. I don't really have wall space. I switch things in and out every now and then.
Hey, you got to work with the space, man. You got to figure out how to, Jenga it or whatever.
If I rotate this room here, you're going to see every inch of the wall is basically taken up, except maybe a foot.
Yeah.
From the ceiling to the first picture. It's amazing. I mean, this is beautiful artwork. I mean, I just keep going back to that. I mean, the story you've pitched to me sounds fantastic, even for someone like me who is not really a horror fan, but I like the idea of monsters. I like this type of stuff. I love Vikings. It's just a great. I don't even want to say. I can't even say great story, but it's just you've mixed everything I kind of love together.
Cool.
So for me, this is a very fun piece. And anybody watching out there, if you have any questions about this story, feel free to ask. I'm happy to ask the questions to KJ, because he's got some really cool stuff going on here. I'm going to remove this and bring us back. Are you already? Let me ask you, how's book 2 coming? Have you started on it?
So yeah, we have basically all the plot points for book 2 out. It just has to be tightened up.
Okay.
So that's just John and I sitting down, going over it one more time, and making decisions. But essentially, we know what happens in book 2. So the script is being worked on as we speak. It'll be done probably before Christmas, and then January 1, I'm drawing the next book. I'm taking a break through the holidays, and then I'm back on the project. Sure.
I completely understand. That's going to be my busy time to work. It actually
it's cold. It's going to be inside. Want to stay?
Yeah, I'm feeling like I want to just start drawing. I actually and I'm going to ask you a couple of other questions in a minute, but I've actually wanted to challenge myself just to a 24-hour comic book challenge.
Oh,
see what I could put together.
Yeah.
And I was thinking not just doing a story that I've already written, but waking up in the morning, picking a public domain character or something.
Yeah.
Like Robin Hood, let's say, just off the top of my head, and say, okay, now just start a Robin Hood story. And
I did 2 24-hour challenges with Matt Ryan from Free Lunch Comic. And I never made it to 24 hours, man. You usually lose steam like by hour 12. It's like I've been drawing for 12 hours,
Yeah.
Now I need to just stop, and then of course you look at it a day or two later, and you're like, yeah, this looks like garbage.
Well, the reason I was bringing it up is because I'm thinking, I work for a school during the day, and that's my time off during the the winter holiday season there, and usually get a good week or so off. You come back like the day, not New Year's Day, the day after New Year's Day there on the 2nd, and you're usually off a little bit before the Christmas holiday. So I'm like, oh, I could pull one of those days where I don't have to worry and try that out. And
there's a lot of good public domain stuff that people are still creating their own spin on. I think on Kickstarter there was something called the OZ Oz, but basically it was this really brilliant concept, and this guy did really well with it. Yeah.
Well, there's a great public domain. I think it's called Public Domain Heroes on Facebook, and people are always posting. And there are people out there just doing comics with public domain characters.
Yeah, why not?
I'm just saying I'll pick one this way. I don't have any notion in my head of, oh, well, yeah, I'm going to draw this character of mine. And then I can kind of I want to kind of really challenge myself.
Cool. All right.
But yeah, I was thinking during November, like Thanksgiving weekend, but I'm probably going to wait till the winter holidays for me. Anyway, let's get back to your book. This isn't about me today. So you're planning this as a 3-issue series as of right now.
That's the plan. Yep.
And until you get to book 3, you don't know if there's going to be a book 4. You're planning to end it in book 3.
The plan is to end it at book 3. There is a conclusion, and what happens to what characters remain after that. I mean, it's not like I can write another book after it. Essentially, that story, that chapter ends, and then it's more like, what else could we do with Wendigos, or do we kind of move into something else? And John, you should have John on. He's a really great person to talk to. He has all kinds of ideas, so I'm sure he already has something lined up that he wants to do that probably has nothing to do with Wendigo. I could probably break out that ancient aliens concept again and say, "Hey, man, now it's time for the aliens."
Hey, that's cool. I'll be honest. I'm a huge fan of that show, Ancient Aliens. Yeah. I'm such a geek for that type of stuff. Always loved sci-fi. Always loved, when I studied art history, my favorite was more of the ancient cultures, and because I loved learning about how people lived and how the art was about how they lived and their gods and all these different things. And then you see the Ancient Alien TV series, and you're just like, you crack up laughing because in your head it's not real.
Yeah.
But it's like, what if, and all these stories just start sparking.
Well, I think that it kind of spurs the imagination.
Yeah.
To be creative, and anything that does that is like gold, really.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a chance after this story ends, you might have another Wendigo story in you?
I think I got one more Wendigo story. I don't know if I'm going to be done with it. But you never know. You never know. I might totally get turned on to something else. But yeah, I've been doing it for a while, and I keep going back to it. It's something that interests me for some reason. I don't know why. So I have to figure that out maybe. But yeah, I think we might play with Wendigos one more time, and maybe a different time, and how do you tie it in with Native American folklore? So I mean, it could be a Western. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
That's actually, I love Westerns. You don't see too many Western comics anymore, and that could be fun.
I could probably draw a Western book. I know John loves Western stuff, so I know he would be interested. Like, he'll watch this and kind of go, so let's talk about that next book. So it's probably.
Well, I'll tell you, the only reason I haven't drawn a Western book yet is because I can't draw horses to save my life.
You know what? I'm on a horse farm, and there's 4 or 5 horses in a barn, man. And I look at them all the time. But as soon as I have to draw them from memory, especially those hind legs and how they work, I could get away with the long nose and the head and the shape, but in the mane. But as soon as you have to draw it moving, it's like a totally different thing.
Yeah, I was trying to do it the other day. I was looking at pictures of horses, and I had a book on how to draw. I don't remember. It's somewhere over there. It's you might know. It's like how to draw. I don't know. It's called How to Draw Animals or How to Draw Cartoon Animals. It's an old book, has a yellow cover on it. There's like a lion jumping up.
Yeah.
And I was looking, and there's a horse in there, a couple of horses, and I'm just like, I don't get it. I'm just sitting there like, I'm looking at it, trying to draw it, and I'm like, I don't get this. I can't.
Yeah, I guess their legs move in a certain pattern. So like, it's front leg and the back leg, rear leg kind of do this thing, and then it goes, like something like that. I don't.
And what's funny? One of my teachers was a guy named Tom Gill, who passed away a few years ago. Tom was known for drawing Western books back in the 50s and 60s and stuff. He drew the Lone Ranger strip, comic book, and I know he kind of goes through the comic strip for a while, and I believe he drew like the Bonanza and the Gunsmoke comics and things like that, but he never saw a horse until years later. This was all just him looking at it, and he was known for his horses.
Right.
And the one thing, I had him for a short time as a teacher. There's people who had him longer times and whatnot. And he was teaching, it was through a cartooning class I was taking that he taught, but we never went over horses. and I'm like, I should ask him, how do I draw a horse? And I never did.
I think there's no secret, man. I think you just decide, hey, man, I gotta get good on my horse game because I'm drawing a bunch. You know, I would probably just start drawing horses every day until I felt like I could pull it off.
That's what I'm doing. The other day, I was drawing this barbarian, and the way his hand was out and his sword was, I'm like, oh my god, if I just put a horse under him, it looks like he's riding. It's great. I'm like, I destroyed the picture. I can't do it. I can't do it. But yeah, let's get back to your story.
Sure.
I enjoy sidetracking sometimes.
Oh, that's good. Sorry. That's good.
So anyway, your story. When you mentioned, I wanted to ask you this. Your story is the main guy they come look for is Eric. Is that based off the idea of Eric the Red, or is that just
no? It's just random. Yeah, our Eric doesn't have red hair.
Yeah, well, I noticed that. That's why I was going to ask.
Yeah. I don't know why we ended up with the names we did. You know what? I kind of left it up to John, actually. I did kind of pull these names out of my hat. Like one of the characters is named Rollo, and then I know about the Vikings show, and I think there's a character named Rollo in that. So I don't know if we were inspired by that or not, but you know, it's a totally different thing. But you know, we tried to find Viking names, you know, and make it seem authentic. I mean, of course, you know, there's no Vikings anymore, so it's really hard to, you know, I mean, maybe there are modern day Vikings that we could have consulted, but you know, essentially you're going with what you read about or what you see other people's versions of. Yeah.
No, that's really interesting. I mean, like I said, I love all this. This is sounding very exciting to me, and I'm always looking for really good indie books to read. I find myself these days, and I'm starting to find a lot of people, and maybe you're like this too. I don't know. And I don't know if it's because, you know, we're in the industry, we draw, we write, we make the comics. But I'm finding myself leaning away from mainstream books, Marvel, DC.
Yeah.
And I love, don't get me wrong, I'm more of I've always been a DC guy. I'm a huge Green Lantern fan. I love Dr. Fate, Superman, Nightwing. These are like my top 4 characters there.
Yep.
But I don't want to pick up any of their books.
Yeah.
And I'll be finding, like, the one I showed you before we went on. This is from Boom Studios. I found this recently. Yeah. And Boom's definitely an independent company. It's called 7 Secrets. I've read the first issue. I have the second 2, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the first issue. And here's Aftershock, Artemis and the Assassin. Another great one that I found that I really enjoy. And it's only the first issue. I'd like to get a few more before I can make a definitive decision if it's a book I want to follow.
Yeah.
But when I was in the comic shop buying these, which, by the way, just to pitch the comic shop I go to, if you guys live in Yonkers or near Yonkers, go to the Spider's Web on 887A Yonkers Avenue, across street from the casino. Okay, that's where I got those books. He's got 2 large sections of indie books, of just like indie comic publishers, and it's great. He's a big supporter of the indie comics, and you know, not only is it a great store, not only support, but I'm finding more interesting stuff on that side of the store than going to this side of the store. And you know, the only reason I now tend to go to this side is to look at trades of old books I like and stuff. And I'm hanging out more in the indie section. And I think and I'm sorry, it was a long way to get to. Do you tend to find yourself that way, or?
I think I've kind of always been that way. I've been kind of really not into mainstream stuff. I mean, I grew up on it. Don't get me wrong, but I went to a comic book store that was heavily independent comics in the late '80s, and I just gravitated that stuff right away. And I just was looking for new stuff, different stuff, and less superhero stuff, and so I ended up making books that are like that. You know what I mean?
That's great. I mean, I didn't get into indie books probably until the 90s. I started collecting in like 88 or 89, but I read comics.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, and don't get me wrong, I had Uncle Scrooge growing up, I had Archie, I had,
Yeah.
superhero stuff. But I remember, I can't tell you what my first indie comic was, but I remember loving characters like Grendel, Scud the Disposable Assassin, like characters like that who, didn't have like a superhero vibe to them. And I was like, wow, this is great. And that was when I think I started reading, looking and reading old Ninja Turtle books.
Yep.
And finding, I knew the cartoon series from being a kid and loving it, but it wasn't until I'm like, oh, there's comics based on this, and they're not like the cartoon. They're not as friendly, and I'm like, that for me, that opened the door. And since then, I still bought mainstream, but it was mainstream stopped for me about 2002 maybe. But I've always loved those indie books, and when I could support one, and when I can promote one that I'm especially into, both art and story, I'm happy to have the creators on. And like you said, John should come on. Maybe I'll have him on his own, or maybe bring you both on again, and we could.
I think he wanted to be on, and I was like, I don't know if we can have 3 people.
Oh, I can have up to 10 people on here.
Oh, you can, man.
Yeah. Yeah, let's bring John on next time. Maybe both of us, or however the schedule goes. Problem is, it'd have to be a special edition. I'm booked right now until mid-December, and your Kickstarter ends in 29 days.
How about book 2?
Book 2, definitely. You guys got to come back on.
All right. Yeah.
I always enjoy chatting with you anyway, and I'd love to see where this goes, and hopefully this you'll make this. I think you will, just based on one day of sales. I think you have a really good shot at.
I want to say I'm 100% confident, but it's something very intimidating. I don't know if you've done Kickstarter before.
Not yet.
But when you finally have nailed everything down and you kind of looked at everything twice, and all you have to do is hit the launch button, there's something rather intimidating about it, man. You're like, all right, am I really all set? Because I can't change this. I can't change some of this stuff when I start it.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, you know what? All this is work. All this has been building up to do this. It's accountability at this point. I have to follow through. And I gave myself the weekend. I could have launched on Friday or Saturday. I was like, it's Halloween weekend.
Yeah.
But then it's like the election's tomorrow. So I was like, I'm damned if I do. I'm damned if I don't. I'm just going to do it Monday because I have the day off, and I'll do it.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's funny that you say that, though, about how kind of like nerve-wracking it is.
Yeah.
I feel that way anytime I finish a book and about to send it to print. I'm like, did I put in the right dimensions? Right. Is it the right format? And I'm just sitting there and I'm freaking out constantly. But that's just me. I'm neurotic that way.
In the first hour, I sold the cover, and then an hour later I sold a high tier reward, and I was like, okay, we're doing okay. I at least sell a few books today. I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
And I ended up selling some. We got some backers, and I was like, okay, we're about where we should be for a first time Kickstarter, and nobody knows who we are, kind of thing. Got to start somewhere.
Congratulations. That's fantastic. It's very rare. I don't want to say it's rare because I don't follow Kickstarter as much, but the Kickstarters I follow, it's rare to have that high, to me, of a number on day one when you're not asking for a lot of money.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's you're on a fantastic start for day one.
Appreciate
it. And I really think, and you're definitely going to get money out of me. Don't worry.
That's all right, man.
Okay. I'm really interested. Like I said, I'm not too much into horror, but it doesn't sound like it's very horror-like to me. It's
any support is appreciated.
Yeah. So. It sounds more like, there's violence in there.
Oh, there
like
is.
Any type that I would see in an R-rated movie.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I'm good with that.
Okay.
I'm not like into horror, like watching horror movies, but this type of stuff, I eat this crap up all day. It's what I love. If I can sit and read comics all day, I would do it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, but I think we're gonna wrap up for today. Right. We definitely want to have you back on, and John as well. Maybe I can get John to come on and talk about his side of it and do another special edition maybe next week or something with him. I'll have to reach out.
I'm sure he would be more than happy.
But yeah, no, this is congratulations again, first of all, on getting the book done, starting the Kickstarter, and doing so well on day one already.
Thank you, Michael.
So everyone out there who's watching, thank you for tuning in tonight. Remember, the links to the Kickstarter is in the comments. You can follow A Road to Valhalla on Facebook, Guildwork Publications on Facebook, or gwpcomics.com, which will take you to all of this anyway, right?
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me. I'm going to drop you backstage for a moment, and I'm going to just wrap up, and I will I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Obviously, tomorrow with the election, we're not going to have a show. I was trying to get a political cartoonist to come on, not someone to talk politics to or with, but someone to talk about drawing politics. And although I did have some interest, it is going to be a very busy day for them, so I couldn't have anyone come on. But next Tuesday, I don't even remember that date right now. What's today? Today's the 2nd, so it would be the 10th. It'd be the 10th. I'm sorry. Little math. I'm going to have a couple of cartoonists on. As of right now, it is going to be me, Roger Phillips from the Gray Zone comic, Francis Bonnet from Suburban Fairy Tales. We're going to have Ed Steckley on, who has worked for tons of stuff, Mad Magazine, and he's the head of the Manhattan chapter of the National Cartoonist Society. And there may be a couple of others popping in, but we're going to be geeking out on comics, on the strips that inspired us and stories that we love, whether they're comic strips, comic books. It's just going to be a fun night. So come back next Tuesday on the 10th and fanboy out with us. I'm looking forward to it. And thanks for tuning in. Please support this Kickstarter. It looks really good. All right. Have a great night, guys, and I'll see you next week.